My name is Clara Donovan, and I am 28 years old. I live in Springfield, a town that often feels like it is stuck in a time loop. The streets are lined with aging trees, their leaves whispering secrets of the past, while the local diner serves the best pie in the state. But my heart is not light when I think about my childhood. My memories are stained with shadows of relentless bullying that shaped who I am today. One particular bully stands out from all the others. His name was Christopher, a kid who found it amusing to target someone different. I was different because I was a diabetic, and he did not understand what that meant. Christopher had a penchant for cruelty, and despite being just a child, he wielded his power with a cunning that belonged in the adult world. When I was 6 years old, I was a quiet child who found comfort in my books and art supplies rather than in the company of other kids. My days were filled with drawings of wild animals and vibrant landscapes I hoped one day to see. But each day, along with my colorful drawings, came the dreaded lunch that my mother lovingly prepared for me. She always made sure my lunch was nutritious, often packing fruits, sandwiches, and sometimes my favorite chocolate pudding. Little did I know that the innocent act of bringing lunch to school would turn into a nightmare. I remember the first time I opened my lunchbox and discovered something that made my stomach turn. The smell hit me like a ton of bricks, and my heart raced as I instinctively understood that this was not an accident. My beloved lunch, filled with carefully chosen treats, was tainted. Christopher had taken it upon himself to pee in my lunchbox. It became a twisted game for him that he found hilarious while the rest of the class either laughed or turned a blind eye. As a diabetic kid, my situation was not something trivial. If I did not eat, my blood sugar could drop dangerously low. I remember feeling my face burn with humiliation as I approached my teacher, trying to explain why I had no lunch, only to be met with indifference. I went home that day shaken and confused. My mom noticed my distress and, after a few gentle probing questions, figured out what had been happening. She was livid. The kind of boiling rage that a protective parent feels when their child is hurt. With a stern expression that made her look like a gladiator ready for battle, she stormed over to Christopher's house. I could not see what went down, but the stories quickly circulated through the neighborhood. My mom confronted his mother, and after a heated argument, things became physical. I still remember the sound of my mother's voice, fierce and unwavering, as she stood up for me. That day, Christopher was not just a bully, he became a target of my mother's wrath. I thought that would be the end of it. I wished it was. But life had other plans. The bullying did not stop just because my mom defended me. Christopher became even more relentless, and with each act of cruelty, my blood sugar levels would spiral out of control. What was initially an act of childish sadism turned into a series of horrific days when I would scan my lunch every single time, terrified that disaster awaited. I felt helpless, stuck in a loop of despair and anxiety as I grappled with my condition, all while trying to play the part of a normal kid. As I grew older, the memories of that boy and his antics faded, or so I thought. Years passed, and I turned my focus to academics and art, trying to block out the past. But then came a fateful day, my high school reunion. I hesitated about attending, but curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to see where all my classmates ended up, especially Christopher. As I stepped into the reunion hall, the air thick with nostalgia and laughter, I was instantly transported back to those awful days. I saw him, grown up now, with a smug smile and the same air of arrogance. My heart raced with a mix of emotions, anger, fear, and a flicker of something else I scarcely recognized. Revenge. In the days that followed, I found myself wrapped in a web of thoughts. How could I make him understand the pain he caused? How could I make him feel a fraction of what I felt? I did not want to become consumed with bitterness, but the idea of confronting him, of taking back my power, danced in my mind like a bright flame. I decided that I would confront him at the next gathering. I spoke to some classmates who witnessed the bullying, trying to understand if they felt the rage I did. Some encouraged me, while others were uncomfortable and urged me to let it go. But I was determined. The day finally came. The evening air was thick as I approached Christopher. He was with a group, laughing as if he had no care in the world. The moment felt surreal, like stepping into a movie where I was the hero ready to deliver justice. "Hey, Christopher," I said, my voice steady, despite the churning emotions within me. He turned, the grin faltering as he recognized me. "Clara Donovan, what a surprise, you still holding on to those art dreams." His tone dripped with mockery, and in that moment it clicked again, the hurt and humiliation bubbling up. I took a deep breath and said, Remember how you used to pee in my lunchbox? You thought it was funny." I saw his smirk falter further. The surrounding crowd buzzed with interest, the atmosphere becoming electric with tension. He scoffed, attempting to shrug it off, but I pressed on. "You do remember, right? Those were not just cruel tricks. They had real consequences. I was a kid who needed help, but you just saw an opportunity to bully someone weaker." His eyes narrowed, and for a flicker of a moment, I thought I could see guilt flash across his features. But he quickly masked it with a frown, trying to regain control of the situation. "You are being dramatic. Kids do silly things. Grow up." And with that remark, I felt the mountain of my pent-up feelings crash around me. The years of hurt and frustration rushed forth, fueling my words. "You do not get to dismiss this, Christopher. You inflicted pain that went beyond just school jokes. What you did to me had impacts that scarred me deeply. I battled my diabetes, knowing every lunch could mean life or death. You had no idea what you were doing." I could feel the eyes of classmates upon us as I poured out everything I had kept bottled inside all these years. He shifted uncomfortably. I pressed on. "To this day, I struggle with trust with relationships. Your actions broke parts of me. I refuse to let you dismiss that. Your laughter that day, your obnoxious joy at my expense, it hurt. It hurt when I was 6, and it continues to hurt." His face turned a shade paler, perhaps as the reality of my words sunk in. For a brief moment, I felt victorious. I had confronted the past, yet part of me wondered if this was truly the justice I sought. As I looked into his eyes, I realized that revenge did not look the way I thought it would. Ultimately, my core belief transformed. I saw in him a reflection of a kid misunderstood by others, perhaps even himself. Something unexpected happened next. Instead of a big confrontation, a fight, an outburst, he spoke quietly. "You are right." I do not know what came over me back then. I was just a kid, and I was wrong. I did not think about the consequences. I was a jerk, and I am sorry. Those words cut deeper than any fight. They stripped away the anger I had clung to for so long. I stood there frozen, the crowd now silent, absorbing the revelation that had unfolded before them. The realization that Christopher, in his own way, was acknowledging the hurt was a bitter pill to swallow. I struggled with mixed emotions, my heart wavering between the joy of recognition of my pain and the ache of past grievances. While I did not forgive him in that instant, I felt the weight of my resentment lighten. The desire for revenge had morphed into something different. It became less about payback and more about healing. I had sought closure, a feeling of empowerment, and I had found it in an unexpected moment of honesty. In the days that followed, I learned to let go of the anger that had been a constant companion for so long. The scars of my childhood bullying would always be part of my story, but they no longer dictated my present. Christopher's apology, though late, was a turning point. I chose to focus on my art, my health, and building relationships that mattered. Springfield remained my home, a backdrop to my journey of self-discovery. I created art that spoke of resilience and strength. My experiences now inspired others who faced their own battles. I transformed the hurt into beauty, channeling my emotions into empowering others who, like me, struggled to reclaim their narrative. Ultimately, I found my true revenge was not in physical confrontation, but in moving on, thriving, and sharing my story with those who needed to hear it. I discovered that forgiveness is not about excusing the past. It is about freeing myself to embrace a brighter future.